little champions, I welcome you all to solve top 30 questions from the chapter Ecosystem. Okay, this is the 9th video in this particular series that we are having over here. And what is the one thing that I want from you? Solve the questions by yourself and then only check your answers with me. That's the only one thing I want from you guys, and I hope you are doing it. So let's get started, my dear little children, with the first question that we have over here. Match column 1 with column 2. Select the option with correct combination. Column 1 says standing state, pioneer species, detritivore, standing crop. My dear children, pioneer species, we'll start from there because it's the easiest one. Pioneer as in someone who is first. So pioneer species are the organisms that reach the land area first, and probably they invade an area first, and then they kind of bring out certain changes there. Okay, they are the one that brings out the biodiversity there. They are the first one to be there. You get it? So species that invade a bare area, a Kali area, they go there, they invade it, and they bring about certain changes, making the growth of other organisms also really easy. That is how basically ecosystem works. Okay, so those are the pioneer species. And now detritivore, something that you might have studied from a very young age. Detritivores are something that breaks down the dead and decaying things into smaller ones. Okay, for example, you have earthworm. Earthworm is something that eats, basically feeds on something and then poops out something. What is it pooping out? Basically smaller particles. What is it eating? Bigger things. So it is breaking down detritus. Detritus is what? Dead and decaying things into smaller particles. So we know 2 is with R and 3 is with S. Let's see, 2 with R, okay, and 3 with S. So we are having 2 options like that. Let's exclude the other 2 options. Now these 2 things are kind of new for us. We do not know that. Okay, so we cannot even guess like pioneer species, right? So what do we have? Standing crop. What do you mean by standing crop? Standing crop is the total mass of the living organism at a particular given time. For example, at this particular given time, whatever total biomass will be there over here, whatever total mass will be here of the living organism, that is known as standing crop. Okay, that is known as standing crop. Now standing state. Standing state is the amount of nutrients which is there in the soil, the amount of carbon or whatever small nutrients which is given in the soil, which is put in the soil or basically present in the soil. That is what you mean by the standing state. So 1 goes with Q and 4 goes with P. 1 goes with Q and 4 goes with P, and this becomes your answer. Cool? This is the answer. Standing crop has nothing to do with the crop or the plants that you see. It's just a mass of living organism which is there at one particular time, at one particular area. Okay, now standing state is what? Standing state is the amount of nutrient which is there in the soil. Works? Chalo. Next question. According to David Tillman's long-term ecosystem experiments, the total biomass in plots with more species shows what? So I'll just tell you the basic idea. He noticed that whenever there are so many species, what happens? These species are able to utilize the resources properly. There is nothing going waste. Sunlight which is coming, there are different plants who take the sunlight. Okay, some food which is there in our nature, it is eaten by different type of plants because all of them are of different species. So if you say there are more species, that means more resource utilization, my dear children. Okay, and if there are more species, you only think if one species die and there is a lion, the lion was constantly feeding on one particular organism, but now this particular organism died. Don't you think the lion will get another options also if there are more species? So can I say I am saving the lions, the number of lions here? Don't you think this ecosystem would be more stable? If there are no much species, if the lion is just relying on this guy and this guy is not there, the species all over them is dead, do you think this ecosystem will be stable? No, there won't be lions. And if there is no lion, then probably the other organisms which are there, which are feeded by lions, they will be just flourishing and the plants will be eaten up. So that's a huge lot of problem that is going to happen. So basically, if more species are there, I say it's more stable. And when I say more stability is there, that means less amount of variation will be there. in their number and everything and things like that. You get it? So the total biomass in plots with more species show no variation from year to year, less variation from year to year, high variation from year to year, average variation from year to year. It is less variation from year to year. They show less variation because it's mostly a stable community that is being formed, my dear children. More productivity will be there, more resource utilization will be there, more stability will be there. Okay, so this becomes the answer. Now, the third question, identify the incorrect statement regarding the flow of energy between various components of the food chain. Each trophic level loses some energy as heat to the environment. So, from one trophic level, that is, for example, they are producers, that is plants. The plants are being eaten up by, suppose, goats. So, when energy is being transmitted, okay, no energy change. When energy is being transmitted, no energy transfer is, loss free. In every energy transfer, there will be some losses, and this losses will be in the form of heat or something which will be given to the environment. So this is entirely correct. That is what? Each trophic level loses some energy as heat to the environment. What about the next thing? The amount of energy available at each trophic level is 10% of the previous trophic level. Don't you think the amount of energy available is only 10%? I told you. Or if you know it already, there is a 10% law according to which whatever energy this organism has, when it is going to pass to the next organism, it is only going to pass 10% of the energy that it has. Rest of the energy, it will use it for itself, or it could lose in the form of heat and things like that. So, just 10% that reaches the next guy. You get it? So, this trophic level has some amount of energy, but only 10% of it goes to the next trophic level. So, the amount of energy available at each trophic level is 10% of the previous trophic level is correct. Energy flow is unidirectional? Yes, energy flow is always unidirectional as it goes only in one direction, my dear children. And everywhere it is lost, so obviously it has to go in one direction only. Okay, so that is also correct. Green plants capture about 10% of the solar energy that falls on the leaf. Do you think the green plants which are there, okay, the plants which are there, they capture 10% of the solar energy? No, my dear children. No. It is basically 2 to 10%. In between this range they capture, and mostly it is towards this side, not towards that side. So 10% will be way too much. I say 2 to 10%. In between this range, the amount of energy is being captured from the sun to the plants, and from the plants to the other organism, it's just 10%, 10% that goes up. Okay, so I say this radiation as photosynthetically active radiation. Okay, in solar energy, not every light energy that is there, okay, every form of energy is not being utilized for photosynthesis. Okay, only little amount of energy is there, but it is known as photosynthetically active radiation, and in that 2 to 10% is being taken up by the plants for the whole process to happen. So I say this statement that is there, it is wrong. So they have not mentioned about 2 to 10%, they just said 10%, which is kind of wrong. Okay. Next, the amount of photosynthetically active radiation captured by the plant is, I told you, the amount of photosynthetically active radiation captured by the plant. Photosynthetically active radiation is also known as PAR, and it is how much, my dear children? 2 to 10%, no doubts. Okay, it is what? 2, ayo, my god, my hair, yeah, 2 to 10%, just give me a second, my hair, and yes, cool. Next question, come on, okay. Identify the possible link M in the food chain. So plant is there, okay, plant is eaten up by insects are eaten up by M, I don't know what is M, and M is eaten up by snake, and snake is eaten up by eagle. So is it Ichthyophis? Is it Ichthyophis, my dear children? Ichthyophis is something which is an amphibian, okay, and it feeds on earthworm. It's there in water, okay, water and land basically, but yeah, mostly in water, and it feeds on the aquatic invertebrates that you see. Okay, it is there on water and land, and it feeds on aquatic invertebrates, that is mostly there. Okay, now Ichthyophis is not something that has been eaten up by snake, and Ichthyophis is not something that will be eating insects. Okay, rabbit, again no. What about rabbit? Eats grass, right? What about wolf? Again no. Wolf does not go and eat insect. Okay, what about frog? Frog is the perfect option that we are having, and this is a very simple question that have come in 2020. Okay, so frog is the one that has been eaten up by snake, my dear children, and frog is the one that eats up insects as well. Okay, Next question. The organisms which invade a bare area to initiate an ecological succession are known as, I told you, bare area, there is nothing. That the first guys to come in is what? Pioneer species, my dear children. They are what? Pioneer species. What do you mean by keystone species? Keystone species are the ones that even though the number might be small, they have a huge role to play. Okay, for example, Pisaster sea star. Okay, it was there, it was feeding on mussels. Now what happened? Basically when these guys were taken away, okay, Pisaster sea star was not there, the mussels, they dominated and they went around causing a huge lot of trouble for other organisms as well. So these Pisaster sea star that you see, they are really good. They are known as keystone species. Even though the number was less, they were playing a very big role. Okay, they were feeding on the mussels and keeping everything under control. But when they went, everything went off. Climatic species, nothing like that. Endemic species, no. So it is pioneer species, which is the one which invade a bare area, my dear children. So in intertidal zones, sea stars prey on mussels. If removed, mussels dominate and outcompete other species, reducing biodiversity. So that is why it was important. It is known as keystone species. This is just an information for you, my dear children. Keystone species, example, Pisaster. Okay. Which one of the following ecosystem has the highest annual net primary productivity? What do you mean by net primary productivity? Net primary productivity means, for example, one organism, for example, plant. It does photosynthesis and produce organic matter. It produces organic matter. Okay, and this is known as gross primary productivity. This thing that you see is known as gross primary productivity. By range, it produces organic matter, my dear children. What is it? The plants, okay? Now, the plants will be utilizing some of it for its own thing. So, I say respiratory losses. So, I will call this as respiratory losses. So, it includes all the metabolic activities that are being done by the plants where the organic matter will be utilized. Cool. Now, this minus this, GPP minus the respiratory losses gives you what is left behind, and that is NPP, that is net primary productivity. Net primary productivity, my dear little children. So, net primary productivity will be more in the case of desert. Do you think so? Plant itself is less. Tropical deciduous forest, no. Tropical rainforest, yes. Because why? Because there is ample amount of sunlight, there is ample amount of rainfall. That is why the annual net primary productivity range, this would be way too much. Even though they utilize it for their own good, still there would be too much to give, right? Because it is the annual net primary productivity rate that we are talking about. So it is this, the answer becomes this. It is not temperature, it is temperate evergreen forest. Okay, so this becomes the answer. Why? Because the high level of sunlight is there, warm temperature throughout the year, and consistent and abundant rainfall is there. That is the reason for this. Cool. Chalo. Next, of the total incident solar radiation, the percentage of photosynthetically active radiation captured by the plant is, how many times is this question being asked? 2019 again, 2 to 10% of PAR only. 2 to 10% of photosynthetically active radiation, my dear children, is being captured by the plants. Chalo. Net primary productivity in an ecosystem is what? GPP, that is gross primary productivity plus respiratory losses, minus respiratory losses, or plus respiratory losses, or this is, or this, what do you think? It becomes this, my dear children. The amount, total amount it is producing minus what it is utilizing for itself and what is it giving back for others. This is what is net primary productivity. So this becomes the answer. Next, which among the following is not a functional unit of ecosystem? What does not play a major role in the ecosystem balance, functioning and things like that? Decomposition. Do you think it does not play a big role? It plays a big role, because decomposition means what? It means break down a lot of things to give the important nutrients to back to the soil, right? So decomposition has a huge role to play in the ecosystem. Okay, now nutrient cycling, obviously again nutrient cycling has to be there, the cycle has to go on, otherwise for example one organism traps nutrients and it is just having it, not passing to other organism, or basically atmosphere having it but not giving to the soil. This is a huge lot of problem. So nutrient cycling has to happen. Energy flow, again something that keeps us going, right? But pollution is not the functional unit of ecosystem. Pollution is something that causes trouble to the ecosystem. So I will say this is not the functional unit of ecosystem. Again, a very simple question came in 2018. Okay. Now, one of the following area is an example for secondary succession if the succession takes place in or on. What do you mean by secondary succession? Primary succession is basically in a bare area some organism came and then it started off its life there, calling other organisms also, okay, bringing certain changes in the area so that other organisms can come and stay over here. This is known as primary succession. For the first time in some area it is coming. Secondary succession means somewhere where already things were done, but now it is not being utilized. Now everything is being cut down. Now it is not of use. No organisms are staying over there, but now I want to create a new, or basically to have an ecosystem being built over there. This is known as secondary succession. So abundant farmland, I think, is the perfect answer for this. Abundant farmland, that means it has all the nutrients and everything in the soil. It was a farmland but now it has been abundant. So obviously here secondary succession can take place. It's not a bare area. It's something, it's there with has something in it, right? So obviously it will be acting as a very nice area for secondary succession to happen. Now newly cooled lava, no my dear children, there nothing can happen as of now. Pioneer species are the one that acquire it for the first time, do the primary succession for the first time. Changing community is also not the answer. This becomes the answer. 2017, and the options are also not at all relatable. I don't know what kind of options have been put there. Children, it's not my questions, okay, it was put down by KCET only. So please do not judge me for the questions. Yes, I have put 10 extra questions from NEET category. That's something that I can own. Okay, chalo. 12th. Climax community is a state of what? So what is climax community? So I told you pioneer species comes in a bare area, makes some changes so that other organisms can also come in, and then it goes on my dear children until a last stage of community is being built which is kind of stable with the environment, okay, which is in equilibrium with the environment. This is known as climax community. Climax of the movie, you see, is the end of everything. So now organisms which are there, they will be reproducing and things like that. No much changes would be seen. This is known as climax community, which is in near equilibrium with the environment. So answer for this becomes what? Climax community is a state of what? Near equilibrium with what? With the environment. With the environment. Cool? Next, the process of decomposition delays when? So for decomposition to happen, decomposition means what? Breakdown of dead and decaying things. For it to happen, what all do you need? You need warm and moist temperature. You need oxygen, because bacteria which needs aerobic bacteria, they might be working and breaking down things, right? So that's why we need that, okay? And also these things should be easy to get broken down. If it is made up of something like that is known as lignin or chitin, it becomes huge difficulty for the bacteria which is there to break it down. You get it? So that is something that could delay. So let's see what is something that could delay. The detritus is made up of sugar and nitrogen compounds. What do you mean by detritus? The dead and decaying thing. If it is made up of sugar and nitrogen compound, do you think it will delay decomposition? No, my dear children, it's easy to break down. So this is wrong. Aeration is sufficient. That means enough amount of air is also there. Oxygen is there. So then it should be happening faster. Warm and moist environment is there, again should be something that could help in the process of decomposition, right? Detritus is rich in lignin and chitin. This is something that would be delaying the process of decomposition. Works? Chalo. Next, the rate of formation of new organic matter by deer in a forest ecosystem is called? The rate of formation of a new organic matter by a deer in a forest. Listen, plant is there. Suppose this, I should be making a plant, but instead I made a tree. Okay, so there is a plant, and this plant is being eaten up by, my drawing skills are really bad, so I am just writing deer. Okay, so the amount of food that it produces is known as the primary productivity. the rate of production of food by the producers. You know NPP, net primary productivity, that is being left, okay, that is the amount that is being produced. Now when the deer has whatever content is given to this guy from the plants, it will also use it, okay, some amount for itself, and then whatever is going to be produced from this guy will be known as secondary productivity. With the help of secondary productivity only, it will be producing some organic matter for the next organism that is going to feed on the deer, my dear children. Okay, so the rate of formation of new organic matter by deer in a forest ecosystem is known as what? Primary productivity? No. Primary productivity is being done by the plants, producers. Secondary productivity? Yes, this is the answer. Standing crop, what is standing crop? The mass of all the living organism in a given time. Remember, standing crop is that. Bare rock is what? A plain rock where nothing is there. So this is an area where primary succession happens. So it's just to make you confused. I don't know why it has been put there, but yes, this becomes the answer. This is 2016 question. Next, if 30 joule energy is trapped at producer level, then how much energy will be available to the peacock in the food chain? Okay, so if 30 joule energy is in this particular level, you are asked about peacock. How much energy will the peacock receive? From the plants to the mice, how much amount of energy will be transferred? Only 10%. So 10% of 30 is what? Calculate. 10 upon 100. Okay, you calculate. It will be just 3 joules. Now 10% of 3 joules, my dear children, again, do I need to calculate? It will be what? 0.3 joules. Here it will be 0.03 joules. This becomes the answer. Okay, only 10% will be going around to next each trophic level. So if you are not aware about the 10% law, you are going to lose your marks. Okay, so that is the thing. Next, according to Robert Constanza, 50% of the total cost for ecosystem services goes to. Do you know what did Robert Constanza say? He said that all the natural things that is there in our environment, okay, people misuse it because it is free of cost. What if we put a price tag for each and everything? For soil we put price tag, okay, for water, for air, everything we put price tag. In that case, 50% of the total cost. He gave around $30 trillion, something like that is the cost, okay. I don't remember exactly, but yeah. So 50% of the total cost for the ecosystem services goes to what? Nutrient cycling, reaction, soil formation, climate regulation. What do you think? It is soil formation, my dear children. So this is given in the last part of your NCERT, okay. This last part of your chapter from your NCERT, my dear children, it is given, okay, just below the summary what it begins. So just have a quick read of it. It's a very interesting thing, okay. So 50% of the total cost of the ecosystem goes to what? Soil formation, which is the largest part, okay. Fine. The breakdown of detritus into small particles by detritivores is called. The detritivores, the earthworms and everything, when they break down the detritus, the dead and decaying thing, what do you call this? Do you call this leaching? No. Humification? No. Fragmentation? Yes. It is known as fragmentation. Catabolism is the process of total breakdown. Okay, when you say total breakdown of the big things into smaller things in a general way, that is known as catabolism. Leaching is what you mean by when detritus is broken down, there might be some inorganic substances, okay, which will be seeping into the soil. This is known as leaching. This process is known as leaching, and this inorganic substances go into the soil, become rock and things like that. Humification is the formation of a very dark amorphous substance which is known as humus. So in between, when the breakdown of thing happens, no, it's not a one-day process. It takes a huge lot of time, right? So in the middle of the area where it is not completely broken down, it has too much amount of nutrients within them, you call this as humus, okay, you call this as humus. So the process of formation of humus is known as humification. Fragmentation is what? The breakdown of detritus into smaller particles by detritivores. Chalo. Next, the pioneer species in Xerarch and hydrarch succession are as follows. Tell me, pioneer species, what do you mean by Xerarch and what do you mean by hydrarch succession? Oh my god. Basically, I will give you one idea, one clue. One is in the land area. Okay, whenever, for example, there is a land area where the pioneer species come, you call it as xerac or hydrac. And the other one is where in the water area, a new community ecosystem is being built. Okay, it can be made to a land or something like that, made to a forest, anything. But it was initially a water body, and now you are transforming it to something else. That is known as xerac or hydrac. What do you think it is? And who are the pioneer species for the same? Just give me a second, I need to drink a little bit of water. Okay, there. So, have you figured out, guys? Well, xerac, as I said, xerac is the dry place, and hydrac name suggests it is a watery area, right? So, the pioneer species which comes in the dry place and usually cause a huge succession there is what? Lichens, my dear children. It is lichens. On the other hand, when you talk about water body area where the pioneer species are going to come and create a huge lot of difference there, it will be phytoplanktons. So, they are the simplest one that could come and bring out changes. So, you have lichens as well as phytoplanktons as the answer. In xerac, which is dry area, and this is watery or wet area that you are having. Okay. In primary succession on rocks, these are usually lichens which are able to secrete acids to dissolve rock, helping in weathering and soil formation. So, what does the lichen do? Lichen go there, release some acids and then break down the rocks into some soil particles, and the soil particles can be really good for the plants and everything to grow up easily, right? So, that is how it happens. In the case of primary succession in water, the pioneers are the small phytoplanktons which are replaced with time by rooted submerged plants, rooted floating angiosperms, that is flowering plants, followed by free floating plants. Slowly all the different type of plants and everything, they come. Okay, so this is how things work. Next, identify the incorrect statement from the following. Atmospheric inputs of phosphorus through rainfall are much smaller than carbon inputs. Atmospheric inputs of phosphorus through rainfall are much smaller than carbon inputs. Yes, it is true. It is much smaller than carbon inputs. Okay. Reservoir pool for phosphorus cycle is Earth's crust, whereas atmosphere is the reservoir pool for carbon cycle. Yes, we have more phosphorus in the Earth's crust, whereas when you talk about carbon, it is there in the atmosphere in more amount, right? Gaseous exchange of phosphorus between organism and environment are negligible. Yes, exchange of phosphorus between us, okay, and basically any other organism and the environment would be very less or basically negligible. It is not much possible. It's not a normal gas to be inhaled and exhaled, right? Now, during carbon cycle and phosphorus cycle, there is a very little respiratory release of carbon and phosphorus respectively. So, do you think during carbon cycle and phosphorus cycle, there is a very little respiratory release of carbon and phosphorus? Do we exhale phosphorus, my dear children? No. So, this becomes a wrong answer. This is not a respiratory gas to be exchanged, okay, or exhaled. So, I will say this is a wrong statement. This is the incorrect statement. Rest all of them, they are correct. Okay. With this, you get a little idea about the phosphorus cycle and the carbon cycle. Next, identify the incorrect statement from the following. Pyramid of biomass in sea is generally inverted as the What do you mean by pyramid of biomass? Biomass is basically the biomass of the living organisms which are there. Okay. For example, when you talk about sea, aquatic lifestyle, okay, ecosystem. In them, what happens? The phytoplanktons which are there, they are very small. Okay, they are the producers and they are very small, and they are feeded by zooplankton. Zooplanktons are feeded by small fishes. Small fishes are feeded by large fishes. So, who has the highest biomass, my dear children? Large fishes. And large fishes, they are occupying the trophic level 4. They are occupying trophic level 4. So, pyramid of biomass will look like this. Phytoplanktons will have less biomass, zooplanktons more than that, and then small fishes more than that, and large fishes more than that. You get it? So, pyramid of biomass in sea is generally inverted as the biomass of fish far exceeds that of phytoplanktons. Cool. Now, pyramid of energy, okay, this is correct. Okay. Pyramid of energy is mostly upright, but sometimes may be inverted. Do you think pyramid of energy can be inverted? No. Pyramid of energy will always be upright. It will be going like this. Highest amount of energy will be there in the plants, then deers, and then other organisms like lions or something else that feeds on it. So, it will always, why? Because only 10% energy is passed. So, obviously, it will be 10%, rest 90% is lost. So, obviously, this guy is receiving less an amount of energy, right? So, I will say it goes like this should be upright, this cannot be inverted. So, this statement is wrong, this is the incorrect one. Even before reading the other options, I am saying this is incorrect. Let's see the other options. Food chains are generally short with few trophic levels, as only 10% of the energy is transferred to each trophic level from the lower trophic level. So food chains, they are generally, as you can see over here, they are generally shorter. Okay, you cannot add more organisms up there. Why? Because only 10% of the energy is being given, right? So as we were solving that question where 30 joules was here, 30 joules, then 3 joules, then 0.3 joules, then 0.03 joules. What energy do you have to sustain the other organism, my dear children? You don't have energy to sustain the next level of organism. So food chain are generally short with few trophic levels because 10% of energy is being only transferred. Okay, now that is also correct. Pyramids of number and biomass may either be upright or inverted. So you saw biomass. Now number, in the case of number, pyramid of number also, things are different. In forest and all, there will be big, or basically in general thing, there will be big giant plants. Okay, the number of them might be less, the number of them which is there, it might be less. What about the birds on them? It will be way too much. So the number, pyramid, again the number of plants are less, birds would be too much. So you say in this case also it can be inverted. Pyramid of number can also be inverted. So in relation, now from here I think it's neat questions that I put. Okay, 20 questions were there put in this particular chapter. So extra questions I have been putting from NEET. Okay, so in relation to gross primary productivity and net primary productivity of an ecosystem, which one of the following statement is correct? Gross primary productivity is always less than net primary productivity. Do you think so? What is the formula? Gross primary productivity is the first thing that is being produced minus when something is being used, that is known as respiratory losses. What do you get? You get NPP, net primary productivity. So gross primary productivity cannot be lesser than this. You minus this and that's when you get this. So this is wrong. What have to find out? We have to find out the correct statement, right? So gross primary productivity is always more than net primary productivity. Correct. Gross primary productivity and net primary productivity are one and the same. There is no relation. So that is also wrong. So this becomes the correct answer. Okay. Next question. Which one of the following processes during decomposition is correctly described? Catabolism, last step in the decomposition under fully anaerobic condition. No, it is just a breakdown of things. Okay, it's just a breakdown of organic thing into inorganic things. It has nothing to do with last step and anaerobic condition. No way. Leaching, water soluble inorganic nutrients rise to the top layers. No, it does not rise, it seeps into the bottom layers and goes to the rocks and is sedimented there. Okay, this is wrong. Fragmentation carried out by organisms such as earthworm. Fragmentation is what? Basically when you are breaking down the detritus, and it is done by detritivores. So it is done by earthworm. So this is correct. This is correct. Let's read the other one. Humidification leads to accumulation of dark colored substance humus which undergoes microbial action at a very fast rate. No, dear children. The humus which is formed, the dark thing that is, we say in the dark soil, it is rich in nutrients and things like that. It takes a huge lot of time to break down. So that is why why does it do like that? Basically, at this point of time, it is slowly providing enough nutrients. Slowly providing enough nutrients for the plants to sustain. So it's a really good thing. So I'll say it does not occur at a faster rate, it occurs at a very slow rate. So this becomes the wrong thing. Only the statement is correct, and that is what we had to find out as well. Next, consider the following statements concerning food chain. Removal of 80% tigers from an area resulted in greatly increased growth of vegetation. Removal of 80% tigers from an area resulted in greatly increased growth of vegetation. Do you think so? Suppose tiger is there, deer is there, plants are there. If tigers are dead, deers would flourish. They would eat the plants and the vegetation will be lost. How can removal of 80% tigers from an area result in increased growth of vegetation? This is wrong statement. We have to find what is correct. Okay, what is correct? That is what we have to find out. Removal of most of the carnivores resulted in increased population of deers. Yes, if you are removing them, there will be more population of deers. So this is correct. Now, the length of food chain is generally limited to 3 to 4 trophic levels due to energy loss. Yes, I told you, explained it right away now. It is limited to this particular range because energy loss is there. The length of food chain may vary from 2 to 8 trophic levels. No, dear children, it cannot have that. That much energy we do not have to pass it to the next organism. So I'll say B and C is correct. So B and C is correct means C option is correct. Okay. Next, match the following and select the correct option. Earthworm. Earthworm is what? A detritivore. Succession. Succession is linked with pioneer species. Ecosystem service. What service does ecosystem provide us? Pollination is one such service that ecosystem provides us. Okay. Population growth is linked with natality. Natality means what? Sorry. Natality means what? Birth rate. Death rate means mortality. So population growth is linked with natality. So earthworm, detritivore, A with 2. A with 2, there is only one option, A with 2. B with 1, okay. C with 4 and D with 3. So this becomes the answer. Okay, 24th question. Next, which one of the following statements is correct for secondary succession? It begins on a bare rock. Secondary succession, I told you already, area should be there on which the new organism should be coming in. Okay, so area should be there where organism used to live and now they are not. There only secondary succession happens, or else you call it primary succession. No. So it begins on a bare rock. No. Bare rock means you are talking about primary succession. It occurs in a deforested site. That means forest was there, now it's not there. So that means nutrients and everything are available. So this is where it will happen. It follows primary succession, my dear children. No, not necessarily. It is similar to primary succession except that it has relatively fast pace. No. This becomes the answer. Okay. Next, what type of ecological pyramid would be obtained with the following data? So secondary consumer 120 grams. This is the biomass. Primary consumer 60 grams. Primary producer 10 grams. So secondary consumer occupies the third level. Okay, primary consumer occupies the T2 level and primary producer occupies the T1 level. So here they are occupying 120, this is 60 and this is 10 grams. So obviously it will be inverted pyramid of biomass. Grams is mentioned, so obviously it is biomass. Okay. Now, which one of the following representations show the pyramid of numbers in a forest ecosystem? In a forest ecosystem, my dear children, in a forest ecosystem pyramid of numbers, there will be too many plants. There will be too many plants, my dear children. So I will say producers will be way too much. If producers are way too much, I will say this is correct answer. Okay. Somewhere the options are, it should be this, not that, because plants are there and it is a forest ecosystem. That's just like I was saying you before. So obviously there are too many organisms which are residing on them, so their number is way too much, and this is pyramid of numbers. This is what? Pyramid of numbers. In that case, here the level of producers will be comparatively lesser, the number of them. On the other hand, the producers and everything which are there, they will be way too much which will be residing on them. So I will say B is the correct option. I will say B is the correct option, and somehow D is also. D which is there, D option which says C is the correct one, that is also somehow correct. Okay, so I will say this is the most correct one. So let's go with this. This will be the pyramid of numbers in the case of forest ecosystem, my dear children. Cool. Chalo. Next question. Which one of the following statements for the pyramid of energy is incorrect? Its base is broad. This is correct. Obviously base is broad because it has lot amount of energy. It shows energy content of different trophic level organism. That is also correct. It is inverted in shape. Wrong. It is upright in shape. Correct. So this is the one that is incorrect. Next, match the trophic levels with the correct species example in grassland ecosystem. Okay, we have to make a trophic level. So we have grass, we have rabbit, we have vulture, we have crow. Okay, we have grass, we have okay. This is grassland ecosystem, right? So I'll say grass being eaten up by rabbit and rabbits being eaten up by vulture. Wait. So this is the first trophic level that we are having. 4 is with C. Where is the fourth one? 4 is with C. Oh my god, 4 is with C. So this is the one that we are having. Easiest way to look forward. Grass is there. Grassland ecosystems, obviously the first trophic level is occupied by grass. So 4 is with C. B is with 3, that is rabbit, that is correct. Now what? A is with 2. Fourth trophic level is vulture, and D is with 1. So even though it's confusing, I have not seen a okay. Vulture is an organism that could feed on dead and decaying things, like, so obviously crow, when it dies or crows a bird again, it can be eaten up by vulture, and rabbit can be eaten up by a crow. I have not seen that happen, but yeah, okay. Okay, so this becomes the answer for this. So whenever you are in a confusion, look for something that you are pretty sure of. Okay, that's how you solve the confusion away. Now next question. In a terrestrial ecosystem such as forest, maximum energy is in which trophic level? Maximum energy always will be in trophic level 1. There is no doubt for that. Because why? Because sun's energy, 2 to 10% of it is finally taken up by the plants. So obviously this guy will have a high amount of energy, and also it is just passing 10% of its energy, right, to the other organisms which are there above the trophic levels. So it's a T1 level, that is, there will be maximum energy available always. Whatever you do, whatever ecosystem it is, it will be T1 who has maximum amount of energy, trophic level 1. Cool? And with that we end the 30 questions. I hope, okay, there was little amount of confusion, but it's kind of tricky somewhere here and there, okay, but it might be easy also. That's why we say that easy questions are the one where we mess it up a lot. So yes, keep on practicing. I'll also give you more questions if you need so, and definitely do not forget to ask me any doubt if you have. Okay, you can put it down in the comment section. I am ready to solve. In the question that I have explained and you still didn't understand, it's okay. Ask me in the doubt session, in the comment section down there. I will be replying to all of you guys, okay? And if you like the video, do not forget to like the video, and also comment down, and also subscribe to our little channel, that is Deeksha, Karnataka. That's all, my dear children. Bye bye. Take care.